So it got heated. Of course, I'll explain all that, but I wanted to talk about something I've seen today or yesterday that I wanted to share with you. So just bear with me, I'll get into all that. So this is my 2500 watt dual fuel inverter generator. This runs on propane and gasoline. Now this is an inverter generator. This is a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit better than a industrial strength generator. Industrial strength provides a lot of power, a lot more power than these do. I think don't quote me, but I think about the biggest you can get is 3,000 watts. Whereas with industrial strength, you could probably get up 5, 6, 10,000 watts. I don't know. I mean, they get big. And they run on gasoline. You can get dual fuel on those also. Carolyn just saw one on Facebook Marketplace. Dual fuel. Said never been used. Was $275. And I got this one for like $500 and I don't know, $40, $500. It might have been just around $500. Regardless, it was in the $500 range. I used to have a generator that was a Champion that was a 2,000 watt, but it only ran on gasoline. These are really quiet. They're about 53 decibels, which is about the same as a conversation. That's at 25 feet. Or I will say that this one running on propane is louder than it is on gasoline. And the reason is, you can tell it's running faster. It's a higher RPM. The 2500 watts only counts on gasoline. And also that's peak. Running watts is 1800, 1875, somewhere around there. But when you're on propane, you actually get less wattage. Propane is not as efficient as gasoline. I like the propane option because it doesn't clog up the carburetor, goof it up. I use this one a lot on the well. Before I got my solar panels fixed up nice, this ran the well pretty much entirely. The thing is I would only fill the tank every few times a week, you know, maybe once a week even. Well, that gasoline, you're not supposed to let it sit in this more than 2 weeks. Otherwise, it can corrode up the carburetor. I've had that happen before. When we were nomads, I had a Champion. These were square. It was the old style, and they were still square cubes. And I set it in the truck, and we went to a paid campground for, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks. And I tried to start the generator, and it wouldn't start. It was obvious the carburetor had been messed up. Then we got to 2,000 watt. Now, it always smoked. And it got worse over time, but it ran forever. 8,000 hours is what I've calculated it out to. It ran for 4 years, and we use it almost daily. And it ran the well initially when we first moved here, but it kind of gave up the fight. The Champion, I've had sit right next to a Honda. Everybody talks about you got to get a Honda. Well, a Honda I think is around, don't quote me, $1,000, $1,100, somewhere around there for the same size generator, the 2,000 watt one. And it is a couple decibels quieter, but I had mine, the old style, the cube one, sitting right next to a Honda. I couldn't tell the difference. In my opinion, double the price to get the Honda isn't worth it to me. That old one lasted 4 years, 8,000 hours. I'd be surprised if the Honda did any better than that. I don't hardly use it anymore because we do got the solar panels running so well. And I also have that little bitty generator. It's a off-brand 1,500 watt that we've been using to run the battery charger. That was only like $299. So even if I run that in the ground in a couple of years, it'll pay for itself. And it keeps this one from having to be ran. The one thing it doesn't have that my very first one had was a gasoline filter. And what it is a little screen inside the gas cap here that keeps out the dirt. So I opened it up, found the fuel line, it's over on this side, and I just put a little inline fuel filter there. But I would seriously recommend putting a fuel filter in. It doesn't take much to clog these carburetors up. Now I did replace a carburetor, they're like $30. You can buy them on Amazon for that old one. So, I mean, I still have that one in case this one goes out. I don't have all the components here. There's a hose that runs from a 20-pound propane tank to this. And so it just snaps into this little hole here, and then you can run it on propane. Ran it on gasoline the other day when I moved the batteries from the camper to the shed, and it was just super quiet. I didn't even put much gasoline in it. Speaking of gasoline, this thing will run 11 hours on a gallon of gas. So that's a tank of gas. at 25%. So there is a high-low setting on this, so you can put it on eco and it runs at 25%. If it senses a load more than 25%, it revs up on its own. It's got a little sensor on there. It's actually a motor. I forget what the motor's called. It slips my mind right now. So it's got this little motor on it. It ramps up the carburetor and makes it run a little faster. When I have to run the well, I put it on high because it pulls all the wattage out of this. But remember, also running on propane. I've never tried to run this on gasoline, running the well. I would imagine I wouldn't have to do anything. I just, because this is pretty powerful at 2,500 watts. Now, they come in different styles. You can get a battery operated one where it's push start. This one, I've learned, it's a little difficult to start on propane, especially in colder temperatures, but I figured out why. When you're running on propane and you shut it off, no matter how you shut it off, you unplug the hose, you turn it off, you shut off the propane, it doesn't matter. Propane gets stuck in the cylinder. And so as the cylinder cools off, it starts to shrink. As it shrinks, there's leftover propane in there that's not been burned off, and it causes compression lock. And so it's just impossible to pull. The way I solved this is after I shut it down, I shut the knob off, I turn off the propane, and I pull it 5 times. It'll actually try to start because there's still propane in the cylinder. It'll try to start. You've released all the propane out of there. So it made it a lot easier once I figured that out, but it took me forever. I had to replace 2 ropes now, pull ropes, because of it. Like I said, I know people are going to want to buy an industrial strength generator because it's cheaper. You can buy bigger ones for a cheaper price than this. But the disadvantage to buying the bigger ones is it just uses more gas. Like, let's just say you're running your freezer. An emergency, power grid went down. You turn on the generator, you plug in your freezer. Well, the freezer only runs 15 minutes an hour, but the generator is going to keep running. So you're using gas even though you're not needing it for anything. On the big one, it doesn't slow down, doesn't do anything. It just keeps running same RPM, sucking up all that gas. This one, assuming that the load was higher when the refrigerator or freezer was on, which it isn't, it doesn't pull that much. Once the freezer shuts off, the RPMs will ramp down on this, will go down, and so it's saving gas. This is just, in my mind, a better idea. The other thing is if, let's say you had carburetor issues on that industrial strength one, to go rah, rah, your electric would also surge. But with inverters, it doesn't surge because the inverter is producing the same amount of power. It's hard to explain how this works. I mean, I could spend a whole entire video explaining how the inverter works, but really what the engine is doing is it's turning, producing DC electric, goes through a voltage regulator. It's very confusing, but it eventually goes into an inverter, and that inverter makes all the energy clean energy. That energy, even if the carburetor is surging, the energy coming out of it is 60 hertz, clean energy. So I really like these. It's very quiet. You can take them camping. I don't know if you'd want to run it on propane. Now, the other thing is, if you had 2 of them, you could hook up, there's a device you can buy for $69 where you can tie both of them together. So right here, you got this little plug-in, and so you'd have this device that hooks both of these together, and then you can get 30 amps out of it. Then you could run like your RV air conditioner. The reason I'm bringing this up is, like I said, I paid over $500 for this one. But right now on Amazon, they're really cheap. They're $414. I would pick one up. If I didn't already have one, I would pick it up right now. If you don't want the dual fuel and you just want 2,000 watts, this one's 2,500, but if you wanted 2,000 watts, just gasoline, they're $375. It's yellow. But if you go onto their page on Amazon, you can click the different models. There's the Easy Start, the 2,500, the 2,000, all of it. Pick the one you wanted. But I'm telling you, this is an exciting deal. And the reason I'm bringing this up is CNN, well, actually several newspapers, but I read CNN. I have a weather app, and sometimes it sends me news articles about the weather. And so it's not that I will read CNN, but in this particular case, I just clicked in and opened it up. CNN's saying that 2/3 of the country could go without electric. There's actually an electric shortage warning. I don't know who issued it right now. If we get into excessive heat this summer. I don't know what excessive is, but we're under a heat advisory starting today at 1 o'clock, which is in just a few minutes, until Friday. It's supposed to get up into the hundreds Thursday and Friday. This is Wednesday. The only air conditioner we have is the one that we put in that camper for Carolyn's son. So if it gets too terribly hot, we could go in the air conditioning. Down in the town, they have a civic center, and they're allowing people to come in and cool off in the civic center. There's a pantry, free food pantry, and they're allowing people to hang out there Friday to cool off. So I mean, it's going to get pretty hot, but that means everybody's going to be running air conditioners, and this electric shortage warning that I read about could take effect. Now the thing is if you order this generator, they can get it out to you like in 2 days. I would recommend, if you got the cash, to go ahead and get one of these generators. I don't tell people how to spend their money. It's just a suggestion. Get yourself one of those 5,000 BTU air conditioners, you know, those very small Walmart air conditioners, the smallest ones they got. Put it in your bedroom, just one room. And that way, if you run out of electric, grid goes down, you can run that air conditioner to cool you off. You can also run your freezer off this. The 2500 watt, I would imagine, could run both the freezer and the air conditioner. The 2000 watt could either do one or the other. I don't think it'd do both. But I'm sure this one could run it. Now I know that people are going to say that you need, you know, more power. I had actually considered buying that little connection that connects the two generators together when we had the old generator, and I just never seen a reason to do it. It has that 30 amp plug that you see on your RVs. I just never seen a reason to do it. This powers everything we need. It powers that well, and the well is 800 watts. Granted, my well is a 110 volt. Most wells are 220. So in that case, you may want to get two generators and hook it up, or get a bigger generator. But I really think these generators are just absolutely amazing. And they last so long. That's the thing, the life of it is just absolutely incredible. I had one of those industrial strength generators, and it didn't run very often. Only had it a couple years, and it locked up because they have to run at such a high RPM all the time. You figure my John Deere lawnmower, they say the life expectancy of those is 900 hours. Well, when you're living off grid, you can go through 900 hours in maybe less than a year, depending on how many cloudy days you got and snow days and all those things. If you can get 10 times the hours from one of these with less gas, I think it's well worth it. Again, I would prepare for this heat wave. I know they put out these warnings every year, but this one seemed a little bit more stern. Like, it almost seemed deliberate, because they said it was going to happen to states west of the Mississippi. Well, what's west of the Mississippi? I mean, you could get into politics with this and say, oh, this is a political thing. I mean, they specifically called out Texas. Texas could go down. And then they bragged, I mean, they were actually bragging on this article how windmills in Texas don't produce as much energy as coal and oil does, and Texas has switched over to wind energy. Well, it's because they told us to. So I don't have any fears about any of this. I mean, I'll survive it just fine. Like I said, we got that air conditioner. We can turn on the generator, cool off. I've only had to run the generator, the 2000 watt, one time overnight when we were living in a little truck camper. It was so tiny that our body heat and the heat outside just made it unbearable, and even with the windows open and the fans running. So we turned on the air conditioner one night, but that's the only time we've ever had to do it. The tiny house is covered up by those shade trees. It's not too bad in there. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about tiny house fire. So I hope I can inspire you. Stay cool when it gets heated. Thanks for watching.